Micdup.
Highlights from Lowlifes. Highlights from Lowlifes.
Hey, welcome everybody. You just get two lowlifes tonight, two for the price of four. Um, we tried to get some good guests, and we've got some good guests lined up for the near future. But tonight, you get another Rob versus Rob show. Um, all of our buddies are otherwise uh, occupied on either on the golf course or some other sporting event. So we thought tonight we would spend some time talking about um, the pinnacle of the baseball season, the World Series, which pits the Toronto Blue Jays, who haven't been in a World Series since 1993,
32 years.
and and the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we'll talk about the pros and cons of the series, and then we are, of course, from the San Francisco Bay Area, and today was kind of a big day for the Giants. They announced a new manager, and he is not from the professional side of the sport. Tony Vitello is a longtime NCAA coach who has an incredible track record, and we'll talk about what we think his challenges will be and whether or not this is a good move by Buster Posey to get the Giants headed in the right direction. And then, of course, we'll talk about anything else we want to talk about. So
I believe
thanks
this
for
show.
joining us.
I believe this
Mhm.
show is what our significant others would call the worst case scenario show.
Yes, and I totally disagree. I think if you're looking for two people that can have an off the cuff conversation about baseball that's interesting, it's us. You know, we don't need a script. We don't need to be told what to do. So tonight, that's what you get. But you could help us out. Um, you know what we're going to talk about: World Series and Tony Vitello. So if you've got some comments, um, go ahead and hit the microphone at the bottom of the screen, and you'll get a 30-second countdown. And during that countdown is when you leave us a comment. And we just got our first one from our good friend JC. Um, and he will, looks like he'll be chiming in about the World Series. And yeah, he's, God, oh my, I don't know if we can play this on the air, but we will anyway. So,
Yeah, no question.
mhm. Okay, so we talked about the fact that the World Series starts day after tomorrow on the 24th and will involve the Blue Jays and Dodgers. And here I am in the Bay Area talking to mostly Giants fans about what they think. And one of the first things that comes up is that there's an overwhelming amount of support for the Blue Jays. And they gave two reasons. One is we all quote unquote hate the Dodgers because we are Giants fans and that's our eternal duty to hate the Dodgers. And the second one would be the political climate, which we don't usually talk about on this show. But this is Canada, Canada's only Major League Baseball team playing against the United States. And I'm hoping against hope that um, the overlord here in the U.S. doesn't feel like he has to insert himself in America's pastime. But we shall see. Um, the game itself, I think you've got two really good teams. I mean, at the beginning of the season, I thought the Dodgers had a chance to win 120 games, but then I kind of figured out over time, you know what? I don't think they care about winning 120 games. I think they want to be fresh and healthy for the playoffs, which they were. They planned that out nice. Everybody got their rest on the injured list during the season, and they coasted into the playoffs, winning their division. I don't think they won 100 games, but it wasn't necessary to win 100 games. The Blue Jays, I believe, are in the most competitive division in baseball, the American League East, year after year after year. It's the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, and even sometimes the Rays. And to win that division takes a lot. And we talk about the Dodger payroll, but the Blue Jays have a pretty high payroll as well. So, Rob, what do you think?
I agree.
Way to expand on our comments, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, you really covered a lot of ground there. I mean, all sorts of thoughts are going through my head. You say Toronto is the only team in Canada, and that gets me all riled up because there should be a team in Montreal. Because when you talk to all the guys who played back when the Expos were there, that was their favorite city to visit. The fan base may have not been ginormous, but they were extremely loyal, and it was great having a team up there. So that part, that's a whole separate, obviously, conversation from the World Series, but it's certainly something I wanted to make sure to bring up.
Yeah.
Looking at the 2 teams, yeah, they're I mean, the Dodgers on paper, and this is why we play the game, have, they're a pretty stacked lineup. Their starting pitching is really strong. Obviously, their lineup's strong. The Blue Jays have a great, strong lineup. Their starting pitching doesn't necessarily match up. Um, but, this
Well, it could be argued they have bigger names, but those names might be a bit older.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
but, once again, playoff experience matters. Like, Kershaw showed that, or Max Scherzer showed that. I mean, these guys during the postseason so far have stepped up, and like you said, you're holding back getting ready for October. At a certain point, those guys are just going to let it go, and especially somebody like Kershaw or like Scherzer, who are probably in there. This may be the final. I mean, it's final season, obviously for Kershaw. This might be it for Scherzer too. And those guys, they're cagey, they're smart. You know that you're going to get everything out of them. So I think that's a really interesting storyline that some of the older guys might really become a big factor in this. The other piece, Roki Sasaki having kind of established himself as a closer that they don't trust quite all the way. So,
yeah,
and yeah, the one game that they almost lost to Milwaukee, Sasaki had a big hand in loading that up. And as an owner of him in a fantasy baseball league earlier this year, he could be devastating for 3 or 4 innings and then suddenly blow up. And it seems like that's a possibility in the playoffs. So that will be really interesting to watch. That's a storyline I'm kind of fascinated by in this series.
yeah. The bullpen is the Dodgers' weak link.
Indeed.
Um, they started off the season with Tanner Scott as their closer. They had Kirby Yates and Blake Trinan, and then the trio of rookies, Dreyer and Vesia and what's Edgardo Henriquez.
Right.
Um, they all were in the mix, and I guess it's great to have closing experience, but it's also nice to have that one guy where you go, oh, here comes so and so into the
Right.
game.
Right.
This is a shutdown. So that's one of the things they're missing.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned our fantasy baseball league. Um, we have a player in our league who loaded up on Dodger hitters, and that did work to his advantage in the end. But it was interesting to watch his team during the season with all these Dodger hitters. There were peaks and valleys. There were weeks at a time when the Dodgers, and I'm talking Otani, Freeman, Betts, they went dead cold
Yeah.
all at the same time, and they couldn't generate any runs. So this was a period of time when, you know, the team was questioning, do we have the guns for the playoffs? And then the next week they'd come back with a couple of 15-run games where each of those guys is getting 3 or 4 RBIs. So it'll be interesting to see if they have um, momentum going into the playoffs that they're scoring runs.
And that's a great point because you look at the Blue Jays and they battled pretty hard to lock up their division. I mean, they were playing meaningful games into the final week of the season. The Dodgers weren't. I mean, obviously they're both in the World Series, so they handled their business. But I just feel like with the Blue Jays, the one advantage that they may have over the Dodgers going into this series, that was an emotional big win, pulling that thing out late in the final innings of that game 7. They've been kind of pressure tested now. The Dodgers pretty much rolled through the Brewers. Um, so I'm not sure how long it's been since the Dodgers really played a game where they were on edge in the 8th inning, 9th inning. And
Yeah,
that might be
yeah.
something that benefits the Blue Jays. I feel like they're coming out of that with a lot of
Hmm.
confidence and with experience in that situation, because every game in that series was basically a nail biter.
Right. Uh, the Phillies won one of those games in the Dodgers series, um, and they had a couple of close calls, like you said, with Sasaki. Uh, I think the Brewers scored 4 runs in the 4 games,
Right,
so there was never much pressure because the pitching staff was doing so well.
right,
Um,
right. And
do
the
do
Brewers
do
during
the
the
Blue
season,
Jays have? Yeah,
I was going to say
I
the
was going to
Brewers
say
during
the
the
Blue Jays
season,
have a lot of fit. Go
right.
ahead.
I was going to say during the season, the Brewers put a lot of pressure on opposing pitchers, slapping the ball the other way. They were always worried about advancing the runner. They were aggressive on the bases, and they seemed to get away from that and just they were swinging from the heels in the playoffs, from what I could see, and got away from that nitpicky baseball. And I think the Blue Jays kind of do that. They have a lot of guys that's their game. Period. They're not guys that
Yeah,
swing for the fence every time, and so that's again, I think that's a key for them to beat the Dodgers is to just be relentless at the plate and take a lot of pitches and do the little things to try to win those ball games.
yeah. Hey, one thing we haven't talked about is the fact that the Blue Jays have done all of this in the playoffs without Bo Bichette,
Right.
and now he's going to be back for this series. Um, will that give them more momentum, more weapons, or will it disrupt the chemistry that they've developed so far? I think you got to play him if he's, you know, 80, 90%. You got to put him out there because
Yeah.
he's that
That'd be.
much
I
of an
mean, that's
elite talent.
the argument there. It's like if Freddie Freeman had been out all playoffs and now he's back, you're going to play him. He's
Hmm.
that kind of player. So yeah, unless he's still hurt and can't perform, you've got to use him, and the chemistry's going to be there whether he's playing or not. So
So, what's your prediction? What do you think is going to happen in this series?
I mean, do you want the heart prediction or the head prediction or both? Because in my
Yeah,
heart,
I'm guessing your emotional decision
yeah,
and the decision as a Giants fan is you want the Blue Jays to take this 4-0.
yeah, and realistically, if the Blue Jays win, I think it goes 7. I think they have to scrap and hang in there just like they did against Seattle. I think they have to play that way, um, come from behind a couple of times to pull out some games. I really and they're going to have to play Blue Jay baseball and not get wrapped up in the World Series and change the way they play. Um, that's going to be key for them. That's how they win. And the Dodgers,
Hmm.
I mean, statistically speaking, knowing this is an experienced ball club. God, I hate to say this, but I mean, on paper, you would probably say the Dodgers in 6. God, that's
Hmm.
painful. Oh my God, that hurt. I gotta go throw up.
It's actually that's where I see it as well. I was thinking the Dodgers would take it in 6. Now, I did read an interesting article the other day, and I know this is an exciting time of year for baseball fans. But there's a writer for Yahoo.com, Jonathan Passan, and he was actually talking about the Dodgers Brewers series. And he said, this series, the winner of this series, dictates whether or not there's baseball in 2027.
Yeah, I read
Okay.
that article. It was brilliant.
So let me explain. Um, Baseball's contract with management, the players and management, that ends at the end of the 2026 season. So we're going to have baseball next year, no matter what happens. But if the Dodgers dominate like they have been, and they swept through the Brewers like they weren't even there, um, they have a payroll. And let's be honest, Their payroll has been manipulated because they have all of this deferred salary. They're spending 7 to 8 times more money than the Milwaukee Brewers are. And it's not like the Brewers have a small payroll. They have some
Right.
big contracts on there. So what they've done is they've subverted the idea that there's some competition with regard to salaries, and it's going to push hard for the small market teams to come back and say we need some sort of control. One of them would be no more deferred payments,
Hmm.
or you want to defer a payment, it's going to cost you at the time um, that you make the not
Right.
when you make the deferred payment, but when you make the agreement, so that it's a true um, salary threshold. So the thought was in Passan's article that if the Dodgers won, we would be in a labor war, and if the Brewers won, maybe not.
Right.
Okay, now we're in the World Series. It's the Dodgers versus the Blue Jays. Now, Blue Jays have a pretty high payroll as well. It's one of the highest in the American League. I'm guessing a lot of people don't know that, but that is the case. And there is the idea that at one point in time, Shohei Ohtani was being highly courted by the Toronto Blue Jays.
Right, and
Um,
that's a great storyline that you bring up because they felt
mhm,
very jilted in that thing. So there's a whole that's a whole nother piece of this series. But getting back to your article,
mhm. So you read the article that
right?
that I'm talking about. What were your thoughts on this?
I thought it was a great analysis that this is I think they're right. And did you get to the part where obviously you read the whole article because well unless you fell asleep, which would be on brand for you.
It happens. Yeah,
Yeah. The interesting part I thought was the reference to the minimum salary cap too, that the teams have to invest. They can't complain about the high salary teams and yet not invest in their own teams. So,
totally agree.
yeah,
And why wouldn't that be the case?
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
you
So, yeah,
take
that was
somebody like what Fisher's doing with the A's, and you turn it right back around on him and say, you can't do this.
yeah,
You this money that you're making, you have to invest in the team. You can make money. We're not saying this isn't a business, but you can't hoard all the cash and you know field a team of minor leaguers
right,
to 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 say, hey, it's baseball. They'll come out and watch us no matter what.
right.
So,
Which I think
mhm,
is I mean, I'm concerned that that's his plan if and when they get to Vegas. It's almost the Raiders model. We don't have to be good. We're going to sell out every night because when Cincinnati comes to town, everybody from Cincinnati is going, "Hey, let's go to Vegas and watch our Reds," and then Pittsburgh and
exactly.
"Hey, let's go to
Yeah.
Vegas and see the Pirates." So yeah, I think that's going to be critical because if he gets away with that, then there are other teams out there, Tampa Bay, Miami, that are going to start following that model as well.
hmm we had a previous show that many of you might have seen where we were talking about what rule changes we would make to the game to make it more competitive, and we thought there had to be some kind of incentive for a team to actually try to win.
Right,
I mean, Colorado Rockies are not making an effort to win ball games.
right,
They don't really have to, because they draw fans that are just looking for some good entertainment, and watching the team lose 20-1 is still entertaining because
right,
especially if you like the other team. So what would happen if you instituted something like what they do in soccer, English league soccer, where there's divisions and you get demoted if you aren't playing well enough? Maybe take the bottom four and the top four from each of a couple of divisions and swap them out. There's all kinds of logistical problems with that. I get all that, but there needs to be something to push these guys to actually put a product on the field that has a chance to win.
right,
Well, I agree with you. I think the Dodgers have a lot here, and I think they have momentum. Um, Blue Jays have a shot, but I think it's It's not going to be a sweep, but I think 4-2 is something fair to look at as an outcome,
Yeah.
especially with the pitchers
If
being
their
so hot.
momentum carries and the Dodgers have sitting out for 11 days, 10 days, if that makes any kind of impact, that's where Toronto can win.
Yeah, I agree. Um, strangely, and I know I'm in the minority here, I probably won't watch too much of the series. Not all that interested in who wins or loses. Um, I'm an old school baseball fan in that I don't my team is out, and I don't have a vested interest in what happens next. Um, but I'll have it on in the radio in the background. Do you think you'll watch it?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
I'll watch. I mean, this is it. This is baseball, right? We get no more baseball until spring training. Of course I'm going to watch
Mhm.
it. This is it for me.
Yeah. Hey, we can go out to the Arizona Fall League and catch
Yeah.
up some of that baseball.
I've done that
No,
before. Did I ever tell you about that?
oh no,
Actually,
would you go to Scottsdale?
my wife and I actually went to an Arizona Fall League game in November, and it was free. There was like 24 people in the stadium. 20 of them were scouts. Two of them were presumably girlfriends, and then it was us. And the teams are made up of teams from the West Coast or whatever. And this guy came up, and they were wearing their uniforms, which is kind of cool. So there was a couple of Giants out there and a couple of Dodgers, and guy came up and I boo. There's one voice in the entire stadium. And the guy looks and I go, get used to it. So
All right,
Arizona
so
Fall League
that's on
rocks.
your brand. That's
Yeah.
on your brand. Yeah, yeah. It's a bigger thing now. They charge to get into the games. The games are pretty well played, um, and it's become a tradition down there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be fun to try one year. But I'm in the minority. I probably won't watch the World Series, but I get why other people do. So,
Yeah.
all right, cool. Hey, you want to talk some beer?
What an idea.
Hmm.
We actually made it to what you drinking. Hey,
Yeah.
and if you happen to have been drinking all day on a golf course and you're just sitting around now at a pizza parlor or wherever, call in and tell us what you're drinking. Um, we are sponsored. What is this? 110 episodes?
111.
111. That's crazy. I
Hmm.
No wonder I'm so tired. We've been sponsored since day one here on the Highlights from Low Life show by our good friends at Almanac Brewing in Alameda, California. It is truly one of America's great craft brewers. We really love these guys. They continue to support us with the show, and we always take a couple of minutes to talk about what we're drinking from them, since that's how they pay us, is in beer. And this should be no surprise to anybody that's ever seen a single episode of this show. I'm drinking the latest release in their lager series, the Rocktoberfest. It is delicious. This beer is going to disappear over the next 2 or 3 weeks because Oktoberfest is over in Germany and they're ready to move on to the next beer. So if you can find it, get it. And I have this every year, and I think I say it every year. This is as good a beer as they've ever made in terms of Rocktoberfest. So I'm loving this beer.
Excellent.
What you drinking? You got something different
Well,
tonight.
I do. This is my first try at Almanac's Afterglow.
Mm.
Okay. So this is a citrus wheat. Okay. I have been drinking the Almanac sours. Anybody who's been watching this show knows I have drank more sours on this show than most people have in their entire lifetime. Um, I'm not a big fan of sours. This is not a sour. This is a nice drinkable beer. And if you like a little bit of a fruit flavor in the beer, not overwhelming at all, this is great. It's very refreshing. Um, it's not too heavy. Um, I would highly recommend it. I'm trying to, I guess this is a couple of steps above your standard Blue Moon. For those of you who are looking for a comparison.
Couple
Um,
hundred.
yeah. Um,
the reason they
I
put
really like it.
the reason they put the orange on that is to hide the flaws in the beer. Here they infuse it, so Almanac will infuse it actually into the beer. So it
Yeah,
makes a whole world of difference.
yeah. It doesn't taste like orange juice if that's what you're worried about. It's not at all like that. It's a smoother taste. There's no tartness. Um, I really enjoy it, and I know that Robbie gave me this as sort of a joke, but I'm happy to take on some more. So,
All right,
all right.
and I cannot wait to get you the Afterglow wheated sour.
No, no, I don't want any of that.
uh, Anyway, there are ton of good beers out there. Alameda Beer Company, they call it the Adventureland now at the brewery in Alameda, and it's awesome. There's video games, pinball games. There's a great roadhouse tables inside for mingling and socializing. There's a nice, huge outside area. They even have a sandbox for the kids around the corner, so they don't bother you. It's perfect. A couple of different food options, and it's just a great place to go and hang out. And if you're friendly with them, they'll probably take you on a tour. And if you tell them you heard about them from the Highlights from Lowlife show, they might take pity upon you.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed when we visited, it seems to be a place where everybody goes after work.
Yeah.
Let's go over, grab a beer. You sit outside and talk at the picnic tables. Plenty of stuff going on. Nice weather. You stay outside. If it starts to get cold or rainy, you're inside. There's plenty of room, plenty of TVs going on, and there's always some kind of food experience going on inside. So,
You, the one place we haven't gone there on our trips over there, and we should, is right next door is a place called Admiral Maltings. And that is a place that does all the barley malt Almanac buys from them, and they only sell to Bay Area breweries. So whoever they sell to, they also have on tap there. So it's great. You can actually sit in their bar room, and it's got windows opened up into the malt facility where they're stirring and preparing all the malts for the beer. So it's really cool. It is literally next door. So if you want to make a day out of having a couple of good beers and seeing some incredible places, Admiral Maltings and Almanac Adventureland right next to each other. It's outstanding.
all right, I'm on it.
Yeah,
Next time
fair enough.
we'll spend the whole day there. Yeah. All right. Hey, let's move into a interesting topic for San Francisco Giants fans. The Giants, as I'm sure most of you heard, have moved on from Bob Melvin as a manager. Uh, I like Bob Melvin. I like members of the staff, like Matt Williams, all good people. I thought at the time that Bob was hired that it was a good move for the team. It was going to bring back um, a winning attitude and bring back some old school hard work managed by true baseball players, Melvin and Williams having played and managed in the major leagues. Um, it didn't work out. Uh, I think it's a good move to move on from them. Uh, it didn't feel like they were doing enough to win games. They were ignoring parts of the game, like stealing bases and moving up runners that other teams are utilizing. And it seemed like they ignored that. So a managerial search began, and Buster Posey today announced that they have hired Tennessee baseball coach Tony Vitello. And before I hand this over to you, Rob, I just want to list for everybody Vitello's, because most of you have never heard of him, 23 seasons coaching in the NCAA, 8 seasons as the head coach at Tennessee, 6 NCAA regional appearances, 5 NCAA super regional appearances, 3 appearances in the Men's College Baseball World Series. He was the 2024 national champion. He has produced 10 first round draft picks, and he has produced 42 total draft picks since 2021. So there's some pedigree here. What do you think, Rob?
Well, my first instinct, I mean, I'm always okay. Somebody knows more than me, Buster Posey. And he must know what he's doing here. So yeah, out the gate, like, okay, here we go. This is something different and new, and it's bold, and we've been needing that. So I'm all in on that. My issue is everything you just read. It's young kids. It's almost like I want this guy to be the director of my farm system more than I want him to be a manager with dealing with major leaguers. And you've been around a bunch of former major leaguers and stuff. There's a certain fraternity they have and a certain respect they have for guys that played the game, whether they got up for one game and got one at bat, or whether they played 25 years and made the Hall of Fame. There's a certain bond that they have and a way they respond to one another that's different than the way they respond to you or I or people that didn't actually make the major leagues. And I'm kind of worried about that. I think that's a real question for me, that he hasn't been there either as a player. He hasn't been there as a coach, and clearly not as a manager. He's the first guy ever make that jump. So yeah, for me, that's a big concern. I If they named him as the director of the farm system and the youth development director with the team, that would have been amazing. But yeah, I'm worried about just knowing how major leaguers react to other major leaguers and how they react to non-major leaguers. That could be a real big challenge here.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think there's a lot of fans that would agree with you. Um, and I think the Giants will try to mitigate that. And what do I mean by that? I'm sure that Vitello will have a big say in who his coaching staff is. But at the same time, I'm thinking the Giants are going to bring in a bench coach with Major League Baseball managing experience. The names I'm hearing, the big name is Brandon Hyde, the former manager of the Baltimore Orioles, who got let go at the beginning of last year. Um, Somebody who came into a very young organization that was floundering and built them up into a bit of a powerhouse before they floundered last year. Um, he, I think, could teach Vitello the ways of the game and make sure that he's not overmatched or disrespected by his players. I, I'll be honest with you. The guy I'm most worried about is somebody like Rafael Devers, who has always been surrounded by pedigree, and now he'll be answering to somebody he doesn't know
Right.
in any way, shape, or form. How's that going to go? Or somebody like Justin Verlander. Oh, yeah, this guy's never played in the major leagues. How do I respect somebody like that?
Right.
So,
Right.
mm, yeah.
Yeah, and I that is definitely I mean, I think he's got the baseball chops. I don't worry about him strategically. I don't think it's going to be a problem with him to adapt to Major League Baseball from college baseball. Um, yeah, I think it's how the players are going to react, and getting them to buy in is going to be a challenge. I think that's
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing they face. And it's even like Devers. I think Devers is more complicated in the way we view him than he probably really is. I mean, David Ortiz, after the trade, was talking about Devers and says he just likes you to be straight with him. He likes you to look him in the eye and say, "This is what I want. This is what we need. This is where we're thinking." And Craig Breslow and the Red Sox kind of danced around him quite a bit, and that really frustrated him there. So, if you can get Devers to buy in, uh, just by him telling him straight out, we're going to play you at first base a third of the time, you're going to DH a third of the time, and then we'll figure the rest out later, or
Hmm.
whatever the deal is. As long as he's talking to him, you get Devers to buy in. That's the one guy that could take it south, but he could also take it north, for lack of a better
Yeah.
phrase.
Yeah. So, for you Giants fans, it looks like Vitello beat out a number of candidates that include former Giants catcher Nick Hundley, um, former Giants coach Craig Albernays, the Team USA manager and MLB analyst Mark DeRosa,
And I'm not going to lie, I
and
I was rooting for DeRosa. I
I think I was too. And then they also interviewed uh, Kurt Suzuki, who actually took the job with the Los Angeles Angels.
Right.
I think it was yesterday. So that's the type of guy that uh, Posey was honing in on. Um, and I'm pretty impressed with that list. These
Yeah,
are these are younger people. Probably we're talking about guys between 40 and 50 years old. Um, they're closer to the game than say maybe a Bob Melvin was, and understand the newer player better. And I, as we always say, there's some catchers sprinkled in there. So Buster's,
right.
um, he understands that the catcher knows the game better than most. There was Hundley, there was Suzuki, and then
Right.
former Major League catcher Wilson also got an interview. So um, I, you know, I'm going to give Buster the benefit of the doubt, and let's see how this plays out. Uh, it's a fresh new look at the team, and they've become more exciting than they were a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
maybe they take that next step and maybe get a guy that steals 30 bases on the team. You know, and that guy might already be on the team, but just hasn't been given the chance to do so.
Maybe
So
they could
let's
get a
see.
30-30 guy like Kyle Tucker, so the Dodgers don't get him.
Yes, yes,
Which leads us to free agency.
yeah. So we'll dive into free agency, but I'm curious what big contracts are rolling off the payroll for the Giants um, that will give them the ability to spend some money here.
Well, let's see. Wilmer Flores, who everybody loves,
Hmm.
but I have a feeling he just doesn't fit here now. He'll land
Hmm.
somewhere because he's a quality major league hitter.
Yes,
He's
agreed.
coming off. Verlander, although I understand that there's some talk about bringing him back anyway, maybe on another 1 year deal. And I mean,
Everybody, yeah,
the way he pitched
everybody
last,
says, yeah. Did he have a bad season? Um, I think people were looking at his record going, that's a bad season. But in reality, I think he finished with an ERA below 4,
yeah.
which is not too bad in this day and age. And he kept him in most games.
Well, and I think his ERA in August and September was like 2.6, 2.7.
Yep.
Like he
Yeah.
had a stretch, like he found himself there at the end. So, you know, I'm okay. He as a number 4 starter, a wily, smart guy like that. Why not bring him back?
To- totally agree. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
So you lose, your Flores is off the payroll. Um, is there, and you did some trades to move some other money like Yastrzemski. Um, there weren't any other big contracts traded. Tyler Rogers wasn't making all that much, and I know
right.
that they're interested in bringing him back.
Yeah, that it
Um,
almost sounded like that was the plan from day one. I don't know. If I feel like maybe Buster pulled him aside and said, "Hey, I can trade you and get these guys, and then I'm pretty sure I can re-sign you in this off season." And Rogers
right.
said, "Sure, okay,"
Yeah.
like because he
Yeah.
seemed like that kind of guy anyway.
Put me in a pennant race. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Give me a pennant race, and then I'll come back and play for you guys again because I've been here
Hmm.
for 10 years or whatever. So,
Right.
um, and I mean that deal worked out great. We could talk about that another show, but I mean, holy cow!
Um, I'm just looking at the starting 9 right now. Your catcher is Patrick Bailey, and I know people were down on his offensive production, but he did improve in the final couple of months.
Yep,
Chapman's your third baseman. He was nominated for a Silver Slugger. Adamas is your shortstop. His final numbers were pretty good, save the batting average.
yep,
Your first baseman is Devers and or Eldridge,
right.
swapping with DH. Right now, second base could be an open competition that would be led by Casey Schmidt and maybe Tyler Fitzgerald and a few other people.
I
But
I think
if you were
Fitzgerald's played
looking for,
himself.
yeah,
I think Fitzgerald's played himself out. I think it's Schmidt with Cost being the backup because he can play all 4 infield positions and play great
mhm,
defense.
agreed. Now, having said that, could you go get a free agent second baseman that
So
would pop into that spot and provide better production overall?
Possibly, but is that
Mhm.
where you want to put the spend? If like Casey Schmidt seemed capable, like he seems like a solid number 6 hitter. Do you need to spend
So
money at second base when you could get a corner outfielder?
my answer's no. You don't need to spend it at second base.
Yeah.
So I agree. In your outfield, um, Zhang Hu Li is your center fielder, um, and then Ramos is your left fielder. Although I would send him through some extensive fielding
Yes.
uh, uh, practice in order to become better at judging balls and catching balls and throwing balls.
The good thing is at the end of the season, he did an interview and he talked about that he really needs to work on his defense. So he's aware, and I take that as a
I hope
positive.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I no, yeah,
Mm.
he messed up and he knows it, and but the fact that he wants to work on that in the offseason, that's going to be his focus. I take that as a real positive. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a guy that wants to improve and get himself where he needs to be. So I'm good with that. So
So we're thinking, and there are some other outfield candidates on the team, like Luis Matos and so forth, and Gerard Encarnacion. So,
yeah,
um,
I think Matos has played himself out of the mix too. Because if you watch in September, that was Gilbert and Encarnacion's shot
yeah.
to show what they could do, and I think that's your 4th and 5th outfielder, and I think their goal is to get a corner outfield guy,
So
with a good bat.
you want them to put the offensive money into a right fielder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Um, Gilbert grows as a bench player
Yep.
and defensive replacement.
And he can play center field, so if
Hmm.
Jung-Hoo Lee needs a day off or gets hurt, Gilbert is a
Hmm.
capable center fielder, so
So I think you're right. I think we're seeing the same thing that you put your offensive money into a right fielder.
yeah.
All right. What do you see as the rotation if the season started today?
Well, obviously, Webb is your number 1 guy, he's your ace. Robbie Ray, even though he faded a little bit at the end, he's clearly your number 2. Um, I think Landon Roop did enough to justify being a number 3 guy, assuming Verlander does not come back. If Verlander does come back, that's a pretty deep rotation right there. The first 4 are gonna be great, and then they've got, what, 5 or 6 really live arms that can take that last spot. So, even, oh boy, now I some, the Korean pitcher,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, even
Um,
he could throw a ton of strikeouts, and he might become that extra day starter slash long reliever guy if he can get a little bit
mhm.
more control.
And Giants fans haven't gotten to see the guy they got from the Mets, Blade Tidwell,
Right.
um, who apparently played at Tennessee with Tony Vitello. So we might be seeing somebody who can get the most out of certain players. Um, there are options in that starting rotation, and I'm thinking if you're going to get somebody for that rotation, it's going to be a 4 or a 5 guy
Right.
that might put somebody else down in the minors for a while.
Right. I
All
don't know
right.
that they got to worry on the rotation. I think the bullpen is probably rebuilding the bullpen. Buto turned out to be pretty solid. Also coming over in that Tyler Rogers trade. You bring in Tyler Rogers back. If you can get another lefty to help out Eric Miller, I mean, Sean Jelly's got issues. I don't know that he's going to be a factor moving forward. So they can find another lefty out of the bullpen to help there. And I mean, you got to find a closer candidate, right? Randy Rodriguez is probably the guy, but
Randy Rodriguez probably won't be able to pitch
right,
until July or August.
right until mid-year.
So perhaps the Giants' focus, nothing against Ryan Walker, is to get themselves a true closer.
Yeah, and
Um,
Walker seems like a classic eighth inning guy. The guy
yeah,
you want to have the
yeah.
ball in a what nothing eighth inning game. Yep.
So with the available money, we're agreeing we need one more big bat who plays corner outfield and probably a stud bullpen guy.
So when we say big bat, it doesn't have to be a home run guy. Sarge, Gary Matthews, for those of you who don't know who Sarge is, was a longtime broadcaster, coach, player. He used to tell me that as the hitting coach for the Chicago Cubs, and then later on, as he became a color commentator with the Phillies, he would still talk with players. And he said the way you win in San Francisco is doubles, gap, think gaps. You don't have to hit home runs. It's not a park built for home runs. Don't think home runs. Think doubles, gaps, gaps, gaps. And guys like Freddie Sanchez and Marco Scudero are great examples of guys that excelled in that park because that's the kind of hitters they were. So I don't
Yep.
necessarily need a 50 home run guy. If there's a guy that hit 18 home runs but had 52 doubles, I think that's the guy that helps us win.
Right. Now, my one caveat to what you're saying is,
Well, you're
whoever
wrong because this is Gary Matthews.
yes, but you didn't mention this part. I am tired of everyday ball players who hit 220 to 220
Yeah.
to 235.
Yeah.
You have to have a guy that gets on base on a regular basis. There cannot be these automatic outs. You can't have another guy in the lineup striking out 125 to 130 times a year. It has to be a guy who puts the ball in play and moves runners over, makes productive outs if it's an out, and produces.
Right.
And I'm hoping that Vitello comes to this team that has Matt Chapman batting 230, Willie Adames batting 230, Mike Yastrzemski was batting 230. All of these guys, that's not good enough.
Right.
There has to be a better percentage of balls in play ending up as base hits.
Sure.
If they can increase that team batting average 5 to 10 points, that's so much better team. And these guys can do it. They did it in the minors. Why can't they do it in the majors?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And again, that's the Freddie Sanchez, Marco Scudero type of hitter, the guy that's going to hit 280, 290 and have a 340, 350 on base percentage and
right.
slash the ball. Guys that I'm not worried about home run. I'm trying to figure out how I can get on base.
Right.
So
very cool. Very cool.
What about the Yankees collapse?
Ooh.
Well, my friends Mike and Adam, who host the Yankees Coast to Coast, they don't like to talk about money. In fact, I've talked to Mike about this before, and he believes teams should be able to spend as much money as they want to, and those that can't compete on a financial level should be eliminated from baseball. In other words, he believes Major League Baseball, to be successful, will have to contract. Okay. I don't agree with him.
He's also a flat earther.
Yeah. I don't agree with him, but even if I did, it's not going to happen. You're not going to go to a town and tell them that they're going to lose their Major League Baseball team.
Correct.
There will be lawsuits going back and forth forever.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. So here you got the Yankees spending as much money as they want. They're not as bad as the Dodgers. The Dodgers are a whole new level of spending, but it didn't work out. Why? Is it the manager? I don't know.
Think so.
Yeah. Is it the offense? They've got a pretty good offensive team with smart hitters producing it most of the time.
Right. Agreed.
They've got an answer at every position. Pitching is not as good as I thought it would be. I thought Max Fried did a good job, but Rodon is Jekyll and Hyde.
Yep.
And some of the other guys they brought in didn't do the job. They went out and bought all of that bullpen at the deadline. And I remember the first game they combined for like an inning and 2/3 and gave up 8 runs. And I was like, oh God, this
they got 3
couldn't be a
closers
worse. Yeah. But A few of those guys rebounded and did well to finish off the season. Um, as I said earlier, that is the most competitive division in baseball, and I think it wears down the team. These big games, um, but it's a more difficult argument with the balanced schedule because everybody has to play those teams the same number of times. So
Right.
I don't know.
I to me, it's they don't their construction of their pitching staff, including the bullpen, it's awkward. They don't have I mean, what like you said, they traded for 3 closers at the deadline. They didn't trade for a seventh inning guy and an eighth inning guy and a closer. I mean, they traded for all of those guys and then tried to plug them into places. It doesn't feel like they have a strategy with their pitching, and it's felt like that for a long time. Even last year when they
Hmm.
got to the World Series, it just you're not assembling a bullpen that works together, that clicks and fills in spots, and you don't have a guy
I've uh,
when you're down 9-1, you don't have a guy that you can throw out there for 5 innings.
I agree. The other thing that I think is there's a lot of validity to it. There's something different about playing in Yankee Stadium before the home fans.
Sure.
Uh, some guys take it in stride. It's just another game, and they're able to block it out. But others cannot do that,
Yeah.
and they come to me Yankees. I mean, Devin Williams has struggled to
Yeah.
be successful, and he was virtually unhittable for 2 years in the National League.
Yeah.
So something happened there. My guess is Williams leaves New York sometime this offseason and ends up resurrecting his career with somebody else.
In
So
San Francisco, for example.
could be, could be. That
If you're
might
a
be a place for
closer
him to.
and you wanna reestablish yourself and you can get a one-year deal, you're going to San Francisco because you know you're gonna be able to that's a pitcher's park.
Yeah,
That's where you're
yeah,
gonna reestablish your market value. But,
yeah,
yeah, I so 'cause and and we're talking about that pitching, you look at the Red Sox. The Red Sox don't have great pitching on paper, but the guys fit well. And I mean, the Red Sox made a great push at the end and made the playoffs because the pitching fit well. There was a sequence. There was a way to use the guys and put them in spots where they could be successful. And the Yankees just there's too many of the same thing and not enough of differentiation. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and speaking of the Red Sox, Jaron Duran is the guy I'd like to see in a Giants uniform. More than I know everybody's got Kyle Tucker is the hot free agent, but that guy is a classic guy that can play the gap to gap. He's a speed guy. He's a good defensive outfielder. He's got a great arm. I mean, he really has all the tools, and I think playing in San Francisco would be a real benefit for him. But I don't know if the Red Sox will renegotiate with him when the contract's up or not.
yeah, yeah.
He's popular, but I'd love to see that guy in a Giants uniform.
Hmm. I agree. All right. Hey, let's see. We got a comment from JC here. You want to play that one in?
Yeah, I thought we'd have more drunk golfers calling in, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Hey guys, just have one thought about the World Series this year. I would say ABFD. Anybody but the expletive deleted Dodgers is my wish and hope for the series. I like the new manager hire. JC out.
All right.
Okay.
And, you know, JC's comments are pretty indicative of the folks we've been talking to. I remember when it was down to the final four, um, ABFD was kind of what, hey, wouldn't it be great to see the Brewers win a World Series? Wouldn't it be great to see Seattle get into a World Series and
Right.
win it? Wouldn't it be great to see the Toronto Blue Jays, after 32 years, go to a World Series and win it? All of these things would be great. I don't hear anybody saying, God, wouldn't it be great for the team that was purchased for the highest dollar amount in the history of baseball would have them win it? Uh,
Yeah.
I'm, you know, you and I have a lot of friends that are Dodgers fans from our time playing in fantasy camp
I
baseball.
wouldn't call them friends, acquaintances, people I've met before.
I get what they're saying. It's exciting to go out to the park every night to maybe see something that's never been seen before, like what Otani did with the 3 homers and the 10 strikeouts in one game.
Right.
Who's going to do that? Where are the other two-way players that would do something like that? I mean, this is an incredible athlete that we're getting a chance to watch. And I know that you and I have talked before about, was he involved in gambling or not? Um, Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I think baseball will probably protect that because this guy is so unique and so great for the game, uh, both here in the United States and outside of the United
The
States.
international, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting to watch something like that.
I
And
just
then,
would like to point
you
out
know,
that when we saw him
mm,
playing for the Angels against the White Sox in Chicago, he struck out 3 times. So he did not pass the eye test for me.
yes, and that will be his defining moment
Yeah,
in Lanterman lore.
that's right.
Yes,
Hey, so
yes.
one more thing, since we talked about the Giants a little bit. I know we're winding the show down here, but um, there is another managerial opening in the National League West, and it on paper it could be a great position for somebody, but on the other hand, some of the guys on that team make it a tremendous challenge. The San Diego Padres. What do you see happening there? Because I think Nick Hundley at first was somebody that was considering that because he lives there and all of that, and then he said, "No, I can't be away from my kids that long anymore." He liked being the special counsel or whatever it was in Texas, where you didn't have to travel all the time and all of that. So he's sort of withdrawn himself from everything. Um,
Hmm.
so that's an interesting position because again, you're dealing with Tatis and Machado and some other egos on that team that are just different kinds of guys.
I You make a real solid point, and I think what management will do there is they'll bring Machado and Tatis and a few other guys into the selection process. Like,
So we're gonna
who
let the
would you want?
inmates run the asylum in San Diego.
In a way, yes. Um, and maybe that's the right thing to do. Because
Although
then nobody can complain about the path because they chose it.
their owner though doesn't always go with the right choice, which is why that
Hmm.
trophy case is still empty.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good team. Um, I I think they finished about where I thought they would, and I thought they would make the playoffs. But the Cubs dispatched them pretty quickly,
Right.
um, and they went out with a whimper. And that, like I said before, sometimes in that Dodger lineup, it would be hot or cold. There was no in between. Same thing with the Padres. They would
Yeah.
go cold for weeks at a time and then get hot and start scoring again. So
Right. I
um,
I have a friend who said that the Padres are built to beat the Dodgers, but not anybody else.
there's probably a lot of truth to that. If
Yeah.
you were building the team, wouldn't you build it to beat the Dodgers, figuring that that would be enough to get you as
Right.
far as you wanted to go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hmm.
doesn't always work that way.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Hey, we got through an hour of rambling like two schoolgirls. Hey, it was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Nancy.
All right. I will let you know that the highlights from Lowlifes will be doing a few more interviews coming up here. We've got some interviews lined up. We were hoping to have one tonight.
Whoa, did your
So sorry, the lights just went out in here.
the power go out and you're
Yeah, here. I'll get that going again.
hey,
Um,
I before you do the wrap up, I did watch
mhm.
the Jim Leland interview from our friends over at the Florida Sports Hall of Fame,
Yeah,
and
Hall
it's
of Fame
great.
conversations.
Hall
Hmm.
of Fame conversation. So if you're on the app, the Hall of Fame conversation interview, if you're a baseball guy, the Jim Leland interview was great, and I want to say that the stoic Jim Leland, he's known for a very stoic, seems approachable, but he's very stoic looking. I made him laugh. That's all I'm gonna
Very good. Very good. Very good. Yeah, if you want to watch that, it's in the archives right within this app that you're watching us on now. We will have it looks like next week we're going to have Andrew Destin from AP Sports up in Seattle, who just got finished covering the Mariners and who sadly got eliminated from the playoffs. And then it looks like the week after that, we're going to have Tom Ortenberg for Open Road Films, and we're going to talk a little bit about sports films. And we've got a few other fun interviews lined up. Probably be 2 or 3 lowlifes and our guest, and we'll be peppering them with questions. So keep an eye on the upcoming shows in the highlights in the Mic'd Up app. Look for highlights from Lowlifes, and you'll see what we got coming up.
So
Okay.
let's oversell. I mean, Andrew Destin, Associated Press, right? That's a big deal. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not dealing with a local guy. This is the level the lowlifes are at now, and
Yes. Yes.
and Tom
Yes.
Ortenberg is an Oscar-winning producer in Hollywood. So
That's right.
we're
Yes.
dealing with
And they've been asking to be on our show for months now, and we've been turning them away. But finally, we relented. So
yeah, they're like no, we got to have Marty on because of the clip-on tie
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Marty's he's the draw here. So yeah. Mhm. All right. Okay. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time.
With
Highlights from Lowlifes on
Andrew
Mic'd Up.
Destin of Associated Press.
That's correct.
Yeah, let's sell it.
All right.
All right.
Play us out.
Highlights
The beer is
from Lowlifes. Highlights from Lowlifes.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Almanac.